Happy New Year, Warrior Rising Tribe. This is the Warrior Rising Podcast Office Hours. I am your host, Benjamin Bunn. It's been a while since we've seen each other. I've been off the podcast for about 3 or 4 months. Q4 of 2025 was an exceptionally busy time for us, but it also gave us an opportunity for you to see some of the other people that are operating inside the organization, namely Reggie Ordonez, who's a fantastic operator in the space of veteran entrepreneurship, has tremendous experience, spent time working over at IVMF and Bunker Labs, adjacent or similar position, veteran nonprofit in the space that also does great work. Of course, Alyssa Michelle, our director of marketing, who absolutely crushes all things marketing related and has tons of opportunities to interview our veterans leading up to and after our showers. She's been doing some rapid fire interviews with our veteran entrepreneurs that have participated at least at the last 2 business showers, DC and Salt Lake City, respectively. And then, of course, Casey Maxted, our newly promoted chief of operations. Listen, one of the things that there's been a lot of talk out there in these streets that people are liking Casey's episodes more than mine. And let me just tell you, you bastards have no loyalty whatsoever. I can't believe you. I'm over here trying to carry this team on my back, making sure that we deliver consistent content to you veteran entrepreneurs. And the second Casey gets on here with his pretty blue eyes, talking to some cool Delta Force guy, and you guys are like, hey man, Casey's better than Ben. Damn. God dang. I kid. We'll continue to ensure that we have great guests and, of course, mix up the hosts here and there. But now that 2025 is back up and rolling, and we've all kind of settled down after a really busy Q4 of 2024, I'm really looking forward to laying down some podcasts, talking about relevant issues, having great guests, and really just getting an opportunity to do what I enjoy the most, which is having an opportunity to provide educational materials, right? Advice, or just like talk with veteran entrepreneurs. That's why I like the podcast so much. It's why I like our coaching calls so much, is it's just like an opportunity to just like talk to veteran entrepreneurs, right? And I say that because when I was first starting out as an entrepreneur, I really like voraciously consumed any type of content that I could find that I thought would be helpful for me, that would give me an edge. And it was a big deal to me at the time, and as was finding good coaches and mentors. So if I can be involved in the coaching and mentorship process and having an opportunity to provide additional educational opportunities for veteran entrepreneurs by way of helping develop programs, actually sitting in and answering questions on coaching and mentorship calls, and of course the podcast, I'm all about it. Listen, I want to keep this podcast relatively brief, though. I know sometimes I'll get on here and I'll just talk for like 50 minutes straight about whatever happens to be on my mind, which, as you all know, can be some wild shit on occasion. But I'm going to keep it pretty short on this episode. It's 2025. It's my first time having an opportunity to talk to our veteran entrepreneurs. Really, I just want to kind of recap some of the great stuff that we did in 2024, tell you what we have going on in 2025, and then, of course, just leave you with a little something in terms of what it means to set goals for a new year, and how we can really hold on to that, and a couple mechanisms and some stuff that's happened to me recently that I thought would be worth sharing. So 2024 was an incredible year. Our Salt Lake City business shower and our DC business showers were absolutely fantastic. Nate Bargatze was our guest at Salt Lake City. We were at the historic Eccles Theater, had a fantastic business shower in partnership with Goldman & Sachs, who lent us their headquarters there in Salt Lake City, and just had an absolutely tremendous time. Of course, Lindsay and Gabe Crisman, from my home were the winners for the Salt Lake City business shower. And we had a special treat for them in which we actually were able to give them a $150,000 grant towards my home. I can tell you they're absolutely deserving. We also had several other participants for that business shower that walked away with $50,000 grants. And of course, everybody that attended that shower had an opportunity to walk away with a significant grant support from Warrior Rising. If you're interested in participating in one of our business showers, all you got to do is head over to the website and sign up for the Warrior Academy. Warrior Academy completion gets you into Warrior University. And once you're through with Warrior University, you can, of course, start putting your name into the hat for consideration for one of our national business showers. you can go over to warriorizing.org to get started on those programs. We rolled right into DC, the DC Business Shower, a couple weeks after that. We had a fantastic guest, of course, Martha Stewart. Snoop Dogg was not there. Got that question a lot last year. And just had a fantastic time in DC, sponsored in partnership with JP Morgan Chase. They lent us their headquarters there in DC, and we had an absolutely fantastic time. Don Halfecker and the Continuing to Serve Foundation, of course, were tremendous partners as well for the DC Business Shower. And we just had an absolutely fantastic time. Of course, the DC Business Shower is an opportunity for us to uplift and focus on female-owned veteran entrepreneurs, or female-owned businesses rather, to include military spouses, right? We know that military spouses and female business owners go largely under-recognized inside veteran entrepreneurship. So we do everything that we can to give them their own platform, their own voice, and to recognize their excellent works in the space, and also military spouses, right? I think after 22 years of protracted warfare, now that the global war on terror is over, this is such an excellent opportunity for us to really lend a hand and put a spotlight on these military spouses that have been supporting these households and these families for literally decades. So we're really proud to have an opportunity to have a business shower that shines a light, not just on female veteran entrepreneurs, but also military spouses that have been so critical in supporting these military families over the past couple of decades. Last year was, of course, our 9th year as an organization. So that makes it 10 years that we've been serving our veteran communities. We've got an audacious goal to try and raise about $10 million this year, raised a little bit less than half of that last year, which was still significant when held up against the previous years. We've got great partnerships with organizations like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, working on great partnerships right now with Navy Federal Credit Union, USA, tons of financial institutions that are able to provide us with great educational opportunities for our veterans. And they themselves have been supporting veteran communities, both internally and externally, for decades. And we're really happy to partner with some of these organizations. And of course, great foundations like the Special Forces Foundation, the Patriot Fund, Black Rifle Coffee Company, and the list goes on. And I apologize if there's anybody that I have not shouted out directly, but we have so many great partners out there in the space that made 2024 a really special year. We had an absolutely fantastic Rolodex cast of characters participating in our business showers. Peyton Sickles from Sick Fit, of course, won the DC Business Shower. She's fantastic. I love consumer goods. They're near and dear to my heart. And her brand is absolutely fantastic. And if you haven't had an opportunity to check her out, please make sure you do so. I think she's working currently with Damon John, who's another friend and partner to the organization. He's probably putting a rocket ship on that business and taking her to great places. Not that she wouldn't have got there on their own, but listen, if you can get help from Damon John, let's go. You know what I mean? So 2024, just a fantastic year. To date, we've helped almost 14,000 total veterans, right? We've given over $12 million in total grants and support to our veteran entrepreneurs across the last decade. Our organization is continuing to grow. We have a small but fierce team of professionals that have great experience, not just in veteran entrepreneurship, but also just working in the veteran space with tremendous backgrounds from their respective careers in the military, and then many of which went on to go start their own businesses and are now lending that expertise to the veterans that are participating in our programs. 2025 is going to be a fantastic year. We've got great stuff going on with the United States Army football. We'll be in Normandy over the summer, commemorating the 81st anniversary of the invasion of Normandy. We, of course, are going to continue to have a presence via our national business showers across several flagship locations to include Iowa a little bit later in the spring. Of course, we'll be revisiting both Salt Lake City and DC. You can catch us again at the Army versus Navy football game. This year, we want to host the ultimate tailgate and see if we can't rival what Travis Manion has going on. Love the organization, by the way, but they're trending Navy heavy, and we're going to see if we can't put together a little something for the Army. And then, of course, we'll be at the Military Influencer Conference in late spring, early fall, in support of our Atlanta Business Shower, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. We had a blast last year, and we're looking forward to returning and seeing all those familiar faces again at one of the nation's biggest opportunities to interact with veteran entrepreneurs and the veteran community at large. So a ton of great stuff. We accomplished tons in 2024, but listen, 2024 is over, and now we're in 2025, right? There's been a lot of changes that have taken place over the last few months. But I want to encourage you, if you're listening to this podcast, if you've had an opportunity to see what we're doing from afar, but you haven't yet signed up for the Warrior Academy, please do so. All right. Sign up for the Warrior Academy, start participating in our programs. Warrior Academy is where you start. Once you're able to finish those 40 self-paced educational modules, you have the opportunity to move on to our Grand Valley State University partnership for our Warrior University, right? It's essentially 8 modules that we hold once a quarter in partnership with Grand Valley State University for essentially what we have in terms of upgraded educational opportunities around business and entrepreneurship, a little bit more granular in terms of addressing things like capital access, legal entities, and some of the issues that more mature entrepreneurs that are a little bit more developed or a little bit further along their way on their entrepreneurial journey, some of the issues that they start running into are addressed in Warrior University. And we've been really happy to partner with Grand Valley State University for that program. And then, of course, once you graduate from Warrior University, you have the opportunity to throw your name in the hat and participate in one of our national business showers. Anybody can apply once they've gone through our program track. Your application is by way of a business plan or a pitch deck. You'll work directly with our programs committee, Reggie Ordonez and Sammy Tierney, to review your pitch deck, to review your business plan for Cogency, and potential participation in one of our business showers. Of course, our national business showers give you opportunities to win grants in upwards of $20,000. Of course, everybody who attends gets a grant. Everybody who attends gets support. And all of our programs are absolutely free, to include the business shower, right? It's of no cost whatsoever to any of our veterans, and we're really proud of that. So 2024 is in the rear view. At the end of 2024, I want to share a story about 2024. I didn't have any specific goals for the year, nothing for myself, right? I just wanted to do well professionally. I wanted to continue to grow. I have a lot of professional interests. I got my, I'm involved in a lot of different things, and I work really hard. Of course, the deputy executive director at Warrior Rising, which takes the majority of my focus. I own a small business here in Tampa, Florida, a CrossFit gym. And of course, I've on and off consulted for different businesses and brands, mostly in consumer goods, now for the past 5 or 6 years. And I really enjoy it. And I love entrepreneurial pursuits. And I'm constantly working with friends and peers for their growing businesses. Some of them, some I help in so much as, in some cases, I find myself kind of working for them, right? And I try to avoid that when I can, because of course, anything that takes my time or energy away from the primary things that are my focus right now isn't always a good thing. But I'm just so passionate about working on entrepreneurial pursuits, and it's kind of fun for me. So I find myself often getting involved in little side projects and stuff like this. But that being said, like I had no real specified goals other than, I wanted to continue to have fun. I want to continue to challenge myself professionally. And I wanted to continue to grow as much as I could, right? And have a career that's fruitful and supports my family and my lifestyle. And so with no specific goals in mind, my sister approached me at the end of last year, like at the beginning of December, probably end of November timeframe, beginning of December, which, by the way, was an absolutely breakneck busy time for me. The Military Influencer Conference, the Salt Lake City Business Shower, and the DC Business Shower were all like literally within, like that was all of that took place in a 6-week window, right? So we were going from one event to the next. And at the end of Q4 2024, I literally spent more time away from home than I spent time at home. And my sister calls me at the end of November, and she holds a director level position over at Team RWB, another great veteran nonprofit that focuses on health and wellness. I love what they're doing. I've volunteered for the organization pretty consistently since 2013. I'm an Eagle volunteer here at the Tampa St. Pete chapter. Love it. Love health and wellness. Love what Team RWB is doing. But my sister has, a paid position there. She works there. And she's the community manager for essentially like the entire Southeast. So she manages all this state leadership and like, Eagle volunteers and Eagle leaders that are working at the chapter level. I mean, she's like the tip of the spear, you know what I'm saying? Now, Eagle leaders, Eagle volunteers, really everybody in Team RWB is encouraged to establish a big fitness goal. And it can be anything. I mean, for some people, they're just like, look, man, I'm trying to eat a plate of vegetables every single day for, 2024. And, like for some people, that's a huge damn deal. But my sister, she had a goal that was a little bit bigger. She wanted to run a marathon in 2024. She wanted to run a marathon in 2024. And listen, by God, she was training for it for like 6 months. I'd call her up and, she's doing all this running. She's got all these gels and all these like potions and all this, these toe socks and all this weird shit that, runners are weirdly obsessed with. She's got to, take a time out for a couple hours a day so that she can just go like run around her neighborhood or on a treadmill or whatever. It's bananas, right? You might be, as you might could tell, I'm not a big runner. I'm not super into it. As a matter of fact, back even when I was in special operations, I used to tell people that running bred cowardice. That being said, you need to be good at it. You know what I'm saying? You need to be able to run. You need to be able to run with shit on your back. And more importantly, you need to be able to run and then stop running and then be able to like provide cogent orders or take them or like, do martial shit. You know what I mean? So if you're still in service, just understand it's important to run, even though I was just kind of shitting on it a little bit. But it's not my jam. It's not my jam. But my sister's training for this marathon. And listen, towards the end of the year, and they share these big fitness goals with everybody. So everybody knows what everybody else's big fitness goal is. It's an additional accountability measure. It's great, but then if you don't do it, it's like you got to deal with shame and all this other weird shit. So my sister calls me up and she's like, listen, man, my big fitness goal, I wanted to run a marathon. I've been training for it for 6 months, but listen, I don't want to do it. And she was like signed up for this marathon. And I was like, well, listen, and like we had this kind of sober discussion where I was like, look, you can deal with the pain of the marathon or you can deal with the pain of kind of bailing on this thing, and I'm not sure which will be worse, but I get the impression that like, the marathon just lasts for a couple of days, like the pain of it. The pain of not fulfilling that goal will potentially last for weeks, months, and in some cases, depending on how big of the goal you bail on, it could last for years. And she's like, well, listen, I got another idea. And I'm like, yeah, I'm game, listen, like, tell me what's going on. And she's like, well, I'm turning 37. She's turning 37. I'm sorry to dox her in that way and tell everybody that she's 37. She don't look her age though. Neither do I. I look great. I have a skin routine. It's serious shit. I just like don't look like I'm 43. Somebody post a survey about it. Who's got a MailChimp account? So anyways, so she's like, listen, I turned 37 December 8th. I'm down here for this cool event for Team RWB where I need to run 5 miles anyways. She's like, what if just that day I decided to run 37 miles, 1 mile for every year of life that I've been walking around on planet Earth. And I just do it until completion. No real time frame attached to it. And the thing is my sister didn't like the idea of like this whole marathon thing where you got all these marathon weirdos, out there putting, chapstick on their thighs and, putting foil blankets over themselves and hobbling downstairs and shit after they've done their marathon and drinking their Mick Ultras or whatever. And I was like, all right, I'm not really with that either. That doesn't sound like how I want to spend a Sunday, but 37 miles is pretty audacious, and she's like, well, hey, check it out. I would like your help. And I was like, cool. What can I do to help? She's like, I'm coming to Tampa for this chapter event. And she's like, I'd like you to do it with me. I want you to run 37 miles with me in one day. And it's my little sister, dude. So I was like, yeah, obviously I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll do it. But like in my head, I was like, dude, that's 3 weeks away. And I haven't ran more than 3 miles in 10 goddamn years, dude. Like I'm going to get injured. Anyways, fast forward, we both run 37 miles. And by we both run 37 miles, I mean, I didn't quite run 37 miles, but my sister sure as shit did. I ran closer to like 34 because, I was like providing her with support and just like, honestly, like, just didn't have it in me that day or something like that. I did. I was like, kind of like, running to the car and grabbing her stuff. And at the end of it, like I had some, some bowel stuff going on where we were against the clock. And I was just like, look, I had like a Christmas party I had to go to. I went to a Christmas party after that shit. Had a couple Negronis, the whole thing. But I was like, look, I got to go use this bathroom. Like, you just need to go. And just had her kind of essentially like doing hot runs back and forth on a 2 mile stretch until she finally finished it up. But I hit 34. She hit 37. And honestly, it was like, I've never been so proud of my sister in my entire life. First and foremost, she's done a lot of great things. She's a fantastic parent. She was a fantastic junior officer, field artillery officer in the military. She's got a lot of stuff that is worthy of my affection, my pride, all this kind of stuff. I've just never been prouder. It was incredible. But I was also like impressed with myself. I was like, holy shit. I was like, anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. And you can. And it's like, here's the deal, dude. It's like, you might think it's impossible to just get up one day and go run 37 miles, but in actuality, it's not. And what it boils down to is like willpower. Do you have it in you? Do you have it in you to not quit? Do you have this grit? You know what I'm saying? And it's like that day I made up my mind. I was like, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit. There's no circumstance under which I can quit. And once you make your mind up and you understand that and you know that quitting isn't an option, it's just like you enter into this different realm where it's not such a matter of, I wonder what's going to happen if I don't make it. You're just like, hey, I wonder how I'm going to manage stuff when it gets super goddamn bad. And that's kind of in the place I was at. Because I'm here to tell you, after mile 28, it got super dark. I was feeling pretty fine. My sister started dusting me around mile 20. It was just like going faster than me, dude. Like was maintaining like around 11-minute miles, and I was sitting around 12-minute miles, and I just could not go faster. And then around like mile 28, I was just like in a bad place. You know what I'm saying? Like me and her were doing different things for sure. She had been training for 6 months. And also it's like, dude, I'm 235. You know what I'm saying? 235-pound man that can run 34 miles in one day. How many of us are there even out there like that? You know, like in the world, you know what I'm saying? I'm breathing rarefied air over here, Jack. You know what I'm saying? Also, I can power clean 300 pounds and defend myself against another grown man. You know what I mean? Potentially multiple. That's postulate, not theoretical in nature, by the way. I've put this shit in action. Anyways, that's for another time. And for legal reasons, I want everybody to know that I've abstained from breaking the law in any way, shape, or form for quite some time. Anyways, moving along. I'm out here trying to tell you that you can do it. You can do it. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how hard you think it is or how impossible it might seem. You can do it. And it doesn't always pertain to damn ultra distances, right? Some weird shit that's over 30 miles with these, it's like a weird cult. And like, listen, and now, and I like, as soon as I figured out that I was like, I can like actually run over 30 miles and I don't even have to train that much for it. I like signed up for a couple ultras. Like I'm doing it, man. I'm doing a Go Ruck 50 towards the end of the year. I'm doing the JFK 50. I got some goofy, like freaking 50K. It's like 32 miles. Over in Brooksville, which is like a weird place in Florida that's like kind of nice, rural, but also a weird amount of methamphetamine. I spent a couple years of my early life there. There was like wild dogs there at the time. I mean, the way I talked about it sounds like the Australian outback or something. Anyways, so like I'm in it, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, I can do it, you know what I mean? And now that I know I can do it, why not? It's like starting your own business. It's like people are like, dude, it's really hard. You might not make it. And people also try and talk you out of it. And then you're like thinking to yourself, I wonder what I'm going to do if I don't make it. Meanwhile, the people that make it, they're never thinking I'm not going to make it. They're just like, all my eggs are in this basket. I just need to decide what I'm going to do when things get dark. Not I need to decide what I do if I can't make it. It's just like, how dark are things going to get and what's going to happen when things get dark? How am I going to handle it? You know what I mean? And if you can start having that kind of conversation with yourself, like, hey man, no matter how bad things get, I'm going to make it. You know, if you can figure out a way to flip that switch inside your head, brother, I'm here to tell you, there's nothing you can't do. But I know I don't expect everybody to go out there and run like an ultra. So I think it'd be best if I gave you some tools by which you can go out there into the world and try and figure out exactly what goals, you know, are going to be worthwhile to you, what you actually want. Because sometimes people establish goals and it's not actually the thing they want. It's like a dog chasing a car. You don't actually know what you're going to do if you catch it. So what I'd like to do is give you a tool. And it's a tool that was provided to me when I was working with Lululemon. I was a brand ambassador for Lululemon. I was a Lululemon ambassador. To this day, I believe it was one of the most formative things that ever happened to me. I became a Lululemon ambassador mostly because of things I was doing in the community. I had a gym that was community focused, still is. I was volunteering often with Team RWB. And, you know, and I was doing a lot in the fitness industry because at the time it kind of encompassed everything about who I was and what I was doing. So I wanted my gym to be successful. So I spent a lot of time in the health and wellness community, other gym owners, other coaches, all over the place, Orange Theory, yoga classes, spin, really putting myself out there and figuring out what right looked like so I could learn more and do better. And as a result of spending all that time in the community, these kids over at Lululemon thought I would make a good ambassador for one of their stores here in Tampa. And I did that for about 2 years, had an opportunity to go up to Whistler, Canada for their ambassador summit, which was just like a transformative experience for me, right? It was experiential and just like happened. And it happened at a time in my life where I like really needed it, but it turned things around for me. It gave me an opportunity to zoom out and take a macro look at what was going on in my life and in the fitness industry. But also kind of put a jetpack on me professionally. Like as soon as that happened to me, it was like everything started falling into place. And I owe a lot of what I've accomplished, I think, to having that experience. Whether people at Lululemon and the store managers and the people that were educators on the floor know that or not, like I don't know, but I'm just here to tell you, like I see that as a turning point in my life. It seems innocuous. You're like, wait, you just running around wearing joggers and shit? Like, yeah, kind of, but it's like there was a lot more to it than that. And they had me do this thing called a vision and goals statement, a vision and goals statement. And essentially, you just write a 5-paragraph essay about what your perfect day looks like, And listen, like get really into the details when you do this, when you are describing what's your perfect day. And like, it shouldn't be like, oh man, I'm in like Fiji, and I'm, I'm, what do they call it when you like mix marijuana with tobacco or something? Like I'm smoking a spliff with Snoop Dogg and you know what I mean? And riding go-kart, that like, I get it. That's probably fun, but that's vacation shit that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, and also I don't advocate for the use of illegal drugs. I understand that cannabis has been decriminalized in some places, but it's still federally illegal. Jury's out on what's going to happen there. Just use your best judgment. But what I'm saying is your perfect day should be reflective of what your average day is going to look like. What does your perfect average day look like? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I kind of embraced that. And I just wrote out an average day as perfect as I could. As I was like, this is what I wanted not the day to be perfect so much. I was like, this is what my perfect life would look like. And it wasn't crazy. I wasn't driving a Maserati or anything like that. And as I wrote out this vision and goals statement, right? It's like, essentially it was like a page and a half about what the day looked like. I woke up without the advent of an alarm. You know what I'm saying? I just woke up when the sun rose. I wasn't waking up in a rush. I didn't have to go coach a class or have this thing that was pulling me to it immediately when I woke up. I had a leisurely breakfast with my wife. And at the time I was not married. I was a single guy and struggling. I was a mess. You know what I mean? Just being promiscuous and nuts. And, but in this vision and goal statement, I had a wife, a wife that I loved. And I woke up and had this like kind of casual breakfast with her. I had a dog and we walked the dog together. Later on I had an opportunity to go get a midday workout or like a mid-morning workout at the gym that I still owned. And then had an opportunity to catch up on professional emails, check up on a couple real estate investments that I had locally. And then I went back and finished up my day back with some more professional stuff, emails and stuff like that. And then got another workout in. And then towards the end of the day, was able to reconnect with my wife for a short yoga practice, right? And we did yoga together. And I got real specific in the practice where I was doing yoga with my wife, where we were able to kind of like hold each other's hands and express intimacy in this way that was like external facing or public in some way, right? Like it's not always about like, we had a killer makeout session. I touched her butt. Like maybe sometimes I just am able to quietly hold my hand's wife and set aside time for that. And maybe that's what intimacy and romance looks like when you're an adult, when things are perfect. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just talking here, man. This is the shit that I wrote down. This was like literally like 6 years ago. And I wrote out this statement and it was like my perfect day. And a couple things stood out to people about it. One is I talked about small minutia inside of my relationship with my wife. I also, in this perfect day scenario, had a small child, that we cared for, this great stuff. But I was like still working, you know what I mean? I had a job and I love work, right? And being professionally challenged is like a huge deal to me, right? And listen, I like want to be clear about like what my life was like at that time. Like I was pretty unhappy, right? From the outside looking in, people probably thought I was, I had no care in the world, right? I was just out here flying by the seat of my pants, dating pretty girls and running around, and I was super fit, handsome, you know what I mean? Had, a cool studio apartment, you know, a vibrant and fun and inviting and inclusive community at my gym. But like at the end of, honestly, I was unhappy, right? I didn't have a lot of, I didn't have a lot of substance, right? There was nothing substantive in my life, nobody was waiting for me when I came home. I was probably drinking too much at the time, or at least using alcohol in a way that wasn't positive. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a dog. I didn't have a kid. I didn't have anything that I cared for outside of this business, which was just like this thing that in a lot of ways sometimes was a self-licking ice cream cone, this thing that provided me with a place to work out and make money and this kind of stuff. And I still spent a lot of time nurturing the community. I don't want to make it sound like I was some kind of villain, but I just didn't have much in my life. And the things that I wrote down in this vision and goal statement seemed so innocuous, but I'm here to tell you they were the things that actually matter. And somehow, even though, as I look back on myself, I had a lot of problems and I was extremely flawed, I nailed that shit. I nailed that. I nailed what was good and true and what would be valuable for me in the future. Here's the craziest thing about that vision and goal statement. Somebody asked me about it a couple of days ago. And they were like, and the person, I was in a sauna, right? Not like a weird one, where like nefarious shit is happening. I was just doing exposure therapy, cold plunge sauna. I do it like 3 or 4 times a week. I don't talk about it obsessively or anything, whatever. It's not like religion to me, but I enjoy it. It's good for recovery. But the person in there knew me pretty well. She was like, "You're just describing your life. You're just describing your life." And the fact of the matter is I've had that life, right? I probably within 3 years of writing that vision and goal statement down and then pulling actionable items from it. And then from those actionable items, creating like 3 things that I could do in the near term to achieve those action items, which would of course lead me to my vision and goals. Dude, I got that. I got all that stuff and like inside of a 3-year period. And I'm literally living my dream life. Don't sweat the technique. I'm living my goddamn dream life. I've got the wife. I've got the gym. I've got the professional, the things that are professionally challenging. I had real estate that I had I successfully sold real estate at a good dang time in the market and was able to buy myself the big fancy white corner house, right? 2 stories, the whole shit. I have all the things that are in that statement. I'm literally living the dream. And you know what's funny? I still find time to be frustrated and to feel like things suck. You know what I mean? Like, I still feel like sometimes like I'm getting beat over the head and bludgeoned. And ain't that the irony of the whole thing? But I say all that to say is you should take time. You should take time this year. And I know like January's over with. It's like, damn, it's too late, Ben. It's too late to have a New Year's resolution. What the hell are you talking about? The year is still new. The year is still new. We're not even 45 days deep into 2025. You've got literally more like over 300 days left to still go and achieve great things. Go out there and establish a big fitness goal, something audacious and crazy and terrible, and get after it and go after it 100%. And go after it with an attitude of, I'm not going to quit. It's just a matter of what I'm going to do when things get dark. Write down a vision and goals statement, right? And write down what a perfect day actually looks like for you. And not just some crazy like, hey, I've got a Maserati and, I arrive, to a Phil Collins concert in a private jet. Write down what actually matters, right? The substantive things. What is somebody once said that it's not about drinking margaritas at Sandals. It's about how your spouse greets you when you walk through the front door. Because I'm only at Sandals like once a year or maybe once every couple of years. But every single day, my spouse makes a decision, to greet me or not. And then I do the same thing. That's what actually matters, right? So Write down what an average day looks like, this vision and goals statement, and find out what that perfect average day looks like for you, and write it down on paper and hang it up somewhere in your house where you can see it, where you can read it, where your friends can read it, where your wife or your husband can read it, and take a good hard look at it, right? And for the love of God, once you actually get there and you realize you are living your dream, give yourself a little bit of grace, give yourself a little bit of deference, and realize that it's okay. And not only is it okay that even when you're living your dream life to still feel like things are a pain in the ass, it's okay to revisit that vision and goals statement, rewrite it every couple of years. But I'm here to tell you, something magical happens when you write something down in that way, and that it somehow encourages us to move towards that place, that space, right? That perfect day. It encourages us to move there in a way that's more deliberate somehow. And I would challenge everybody who's tuning into this, listen, I know we don't got a million people listening to this damn thing, but for the couple hundred of you that are listening to this thing, is write down, what your perfect day would look like. Write down a vision and goals statement, put it up somewhere where you can see it. And you might surprise yourself. You might get there a little bit faster than you might think. Anyways, that's it for today's episode. I really appreciate everybody taking the time to tune in and listen. Once again, if you're interested in any of Warrior Rising's programs, you can head over to warriorrising.org, sign up for the Warrior University, of course, the Warrior Academy. Once you complete the Warrior Academy, of course, you can move on to the Warrior University that's in partnership with Grand Valley State University, and then, of course, be considered for participation in one of our national business showers. We've got a fantastic year planned for our program participants and for the people that are part of our tribe, part of our community. Please stay tuned in. Keep an eye on what we're doing. I can promise you it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, and we're going to make a difference. Thanks for tuning in. Ciao.